So we're going to start the round of self-introductions now. And I'll pass it to David.
Thanks, Alexander. And you've actually covered everything I would like to say, but I'll go ahead and say it. For your suggestion, let me suggest that Leona will come as the next person after me. Let me go through the questions, the 4 questions you specified, but you also made some other comments that were incredibly important. I'm David Talmor. I'm located near Jerusalem. I'm originally an American, been living in Israel for about 30 years. And in many ways, focused on business during that time. Both when I was in the United States, I was a management consultant at Accenture and those kind of firms. And when I moved to Israel, I'm an operations manager and stuff like that. So that's that's formally, in terms of business, what I do. But I'm really quite focused on flows and energy and like that. I wrote a book on supply chain for liquids, which was one of the combinations of supply chain being a business activity and liquids. How does literally flow work into that? So that touches on the kinds of research I do. It was flow in business, but it's developed through energies. So I developed a website, itsaresonatingworld.com, which talks about resonating in the world. And now I'll touch back on where Alexander started, which is the science aspect of it. And what I believe in and what I focus on is exactly what Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein said, that it's a resonating world. If you want to understand anything that's going on about the world, it's about energies and resonating energies. So that fits in very well with what Alexander started out. He said, please provide the scientific disciplined basis for the approach that I'm using, and that's it. It's squarely in the resonating nature of it. Everything is energies, and it's part of the characteristic of energies that the same frequency resonates across different sources of energies and like that. And then just to flow with what Alexander said, not part of the 4 questions he asked, but he sort of threw out the question, how do we foster the kinds of things that we believe in? And I believe in a resonating world. And I think the world can work a lot differently. And exactly what Alexander said, among this group, I was very excited to see this initiative and have there's a very different people involved in this session and in the Friday session and in all the sessions. And I could see this as being a real treasure, having this opportunity to just set out my energies. I'm expressing my energies, and where those resonate with this group or however I can connect with the others as well, that's exactly what I would like to have happen here. And so when Alexander asked, how do you foster it? Okay, I'm going to really express what I believe. How do I foster it? I express my authentic energies. Once that happens, everything else will take care of itself. Of course, I'm not the first one to think that. Irvin Laszlo with the upshift movement is right there. So that's what upshifting, that's one of the basic principles of upshift is be and express your authentic energies, and that'll change the world just by doing that, because then the people will connect with their own authentic energies, etc., etc. So this all ties together. It all resonates in a very beautiful way. It's not easy in our world because, as Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein said, there's authentic energies. There's what they called forced energies. Forced energies would be in our day advertising, sports, or all the energies that come that are constantly aimed at us that are not our authentic energies. So it's a real critical step in this process to say authentic energies. What are my authentic energies? And then express them authentically. So it's not simple. But once we raise this, like Irvin Laszlo did with the upshift and this and that, then we become aware of it, and then we can be more part of it. So that's I don't want to take too much time, but just I feel completely within the flow of what's going on here, and I'm delighted to have this opportunity to express this, and I look forward to hearing the others and then identifying, okay, what am I hearing from other people that resonate with what I'm doing, and then let those energies increase. So there's the frequency is where things resonate, but then the amplitude is the strength of the energies. So when we're resonating and then we increase the strength of our energies, that's how things happen in the world. So I'm delighted to be here, and I'm delighted to have this opportunity to express that that's what I'm about, and that's what I would love to continue to flow with this group, is to express, but also receive the energies and identify where things resonate or where we might explore how things resonate and like that. So I appreciate the opportunity to have expressed this, and I look forward now to shutting up and receiving the energies from the rest of the people here. Thank you so
David,
much.
thank you so much. Just before we go on to you, Leona, let me ask David, maybe you could take a moment or two more. I don't know if you want to specify what are the questions that are you asking yourself about you. What is maybe you kind of expressed that already in terms of, you know, how we connect and so on. But if you want to, and if you want to share anything about your particular situation geographically, and what is going on in the world there? You're in Israel, and the need for this greater syntony, this greater confluence, this greater coherence in the energies, to finding the ways of creating these, setting these attractors for greater alignment of our individual and collective frequency emission patterns. What is there anything that you want to maybe even put out a call in a certain way from what's happening around you? First of all, are you safe because where you are? And
no, nobody is safe here.
No.
This country from the 7th of October is in shock and is still in shock. We've not even reached the stage of saying, well, this is how we're going to relate to this situation. The sirens go off every once in a while. I'm in Jerusalem, which is not near Gaza, but there's an unending flow of, you hear very high level jet planes, the bombers. They're not obvious, but they're constant. And then you hear booms sometimes. So there's no feeling of safety. You see scenes pretty often. I saw it today. I'm walking along the street and I see a father with his 3 kids walking along, 2 of them on tricycles. And as I get closer, there's his M16 slung over his shoulder. We're an armed camp. We're in fear. We don't have any idea of what's going on. There's safety is you don't know from now until 5 minutes from now what's going to happen, or are they going to close the schools for a week now, or this or that or the other. So it's and that related to what I sense you're saying, there is an opportunity here when the usual steady state gets disrupted in such a severe way. There's opportunities, and there's a lot of forced energies. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of things, but you know what? There's some beautiful things going on. When the government got out of it, and the people, the authentic energies of the people started organizing. The people in the South had to leave their houses right now. Go away, because it's so dangerous around Gaza. The people had to leave. And this spontaneous and incredibly effective movement of people. Let's gather clothes. Let's volunteer a room for them to live in. Let's bring them into our communities. Wow, that was a complete, no government program, no speech making. Here's a collection point for clothes, winter clothes, because it's starting to get cold and rainy out, and people there. And there's tragic things like that. There's soldiers who were killed, or what called lone soldiers, that came here by themselves without their family from wherever they came from. And unfortunately, they're killed in action. So you'll see a notice. This person came to Israel by themselves and joined the army. They were killed, and their funeral is tomorrow. Thousands of people. Sorry, I cry easily these days. It's just stunning. And so you're starting to see authentic energies to authentic energies flowing. So yeah, this complete change of the rules of the game is having that effect of letting people connect with each other in ways that are unimaginable when everything is going along business as usual. So that's sort of a long-winded response to the question of what's going on here. So it's horrible, incredibly horrible, but you do see the elements that change is bringing an opportunity, and it can even bring some hope if we get to that point. Yes.
Thank you, David. Thank you. And we certainly are with you, even though many of us have just met you. But let's see what we can weave together here. Leona.
Hello. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to celebrate the mindset of David at this time, because it's really difficult, his situation, and he's trying to reach the positive vibes in that. So it's beautiful. And my name is Cecilia. I'm with the Zoom account of my husband, so Leona, it's his name in the account. Well, I'm gonna try to do my best because I'm not used to speaking English, so I I beg you pardon and patience. So my background is in biology. I'm veterinary, and but now I used to work researching in the agricultural science field, but now I'm a yoga instructor. I changed completely my work, my life. So I'm trying to change my mind also with that. And the work I do day by day is trying to open up to new possibilities, open up to new ways of thinking, of feeling, of living. So we met with Carla. I'm going to choose her for the next presentation. We met so many years ago in the agricultural science field and worked together in some institutions. And I admire her way of thinking, and she is always beyond the box, outside the box. So I love that, and I'm a fellow researcher with her in his project, in our project, as he always said to me. Well, we are trying to work now in some research about the way of producing knowledge or reaching knowledge, or in what way we can combine the ancestral knowledge with the modern science, the modern way of life that we have. So we are trying to combine those things and resolve or answer the question. That's the question I'm asking today: how we can live in a way that we can access to knowledge in other forms, and live in this modern society with some openness to other ways of knowledge. And I think that's what we are doing today. And I don't know if I've forgotten some question that Alexander asked. So that's it. I guess that's it.
And maybe I could just ask before you go, what is the question that brings you most alive? What is the question you ask yourself?
Okay. Well, I guess that this change of environment, work environment that I have made, brings me to the question of who I am and what I'm doing in this world. What is my contribution to the world, but not in a way just materialistic, but in a way of my true self. Okay, what is my true self trying to bring to the world? I don't know yet. I'm trying to access that.
Fantastic. And I already, you guys, everybody seeing the red thread that's already emerging
Yes.
here? There's definitely a red thread with what David was
Yes.
talking about, right?
Yes.
So that's very nice. Very interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you
so much, Cecilia. I renamed you. Actually, I went through ahead and renamed everyone here.
Thank
so
you.
that we can see who we are here. But Özlem, you had your name there to begin with full, so we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cecilia, and we're on to Carla.
Okay, thank you very much, Ceci, and everyone. As Alexander started, okay, I'm Carla Narvaiza, and I'm a research lead in a Laszlo Institute with Cecilia. We are working in this project that Cecilia made some resume, but it's spiritual knowledge from food production as a principal aspect to Buen Vivir. Okay, first, yeah, we met with Cecilia because my background is in natural researches and environment, and the relationship between environment and social issues. And always I was seeking to improve our understanding of land using for further conservation and sustainable development. And I go through at first at engineering in natural resources, and it was not, I couldn't answer all my questions. So I go further with the geography, thinking about maybe I can join this nature and social issues. And no, I couldn't answer also my answer there. So and also my experience working in several institutions, as Cecilia said, is agriculture institution in Argentina. I am from Argentina, but now I'm at this moment I'm living in Norway since 4 months ago. And yes, and all this life experience and different institution and different academics works led me or guide me to this open, what Cecilia said, we are looking for something that could open our mind. And fortunately we were finding some too. We are not alone, as David said. There's someone thinking this before us, and but as Alexander said, it's so difficult because your word, Alexander, at the beginning is like it's like what I feel right now. I feel so alone. Even I know I'm not alone, no, but it's so difficult to push the boundaries of the mainstream. It's sometimes I feel like it's almost impossible. But I think how we because I was looking and searching your different investigation and researches about through the Laszlo Institute, and I say, oh, that is amazing. There's other people who is working on this, but anyway, I feel such alone, like a Quixote fighting, but with the wheels. I don't know what do you think I can do? I should say something more about the project, Alexander, or
maybe two things, Carla. One is maybe you can just share a little bit what is so important about Buen Vivir, and what does it mean? Because it means so much.
Yeah.
And so that would be good.
Course.
And also then, as we asked for David and Ceci, what's the question that's bringing you most alive?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. I choose the words in Spanish, Buen Vivir, because it's an Andes conception from South America. So even there is a conception in English, we can call it well-being. I would like to recover this in Spanish to be stronger the origins, from this knowledge, this ancient knowledge that they want to interconnect with the modern knowledge. So this concept of Wenbibir means that the nature and the humanity are equal, and they propose an alternative way of life. So based on an ancestral knowledge, in the cultural knowledge, in harmony with the nature. So being in full harmony. So I resonate with David when he said everything is resonating. No, everything is yes, energy resonating. So that I feel when I feel harmony. When I want to feel harmony, I think in this kind of energy. So for the reason I choose this concept to go through all our project, to recover this connection, this vibration with the nature, this energy, yeah. Not only with the nature, it's our nature, so it's the humanity. So also it's a kind of a social energy, and and which is the question that guide me. So is this project is not just academic or research in my life. It's just what I'm with. It's my position in the life. So what I am seeking in this life. So I'm seeking this to reach this vibration and feeling, and that is my yes, this is my feeling in this moment. What I really want to reach for me and for entire society, So that is my question in my life, and it's also that Cecilia said how we can go through this. So how we can produce this knowledge, this knowledge? No, it's already. I think it's already there. No, like others scientific said, no, it's there. So, but we can, what we have to do to reach this knowledge, and how we go through the mainstream with this. That's.
Thank you, Carla. And just so everyone knows here, there, within the Laszlo Institute, we have these two categories. We have the individual researchers, who are the research fellows. David is a research fellow, and then we have teams where we're coming, and then there's the research lead, and they come with a team. So Carla is the research lead, and Cecilia is part of that. So I didn't, Cecilia, we've never met before in Brazil. When I saw you there as Leona, I was like, okay, I wonder who that is. I hope that's a good part of this meeting, but we'll see. Well, that's good. Now you're Ceci, I know. Then thank you. I know who you are. So that's good. And Özlem, we move to you. There's also, you'll explain about the team that you're on. There's one other research team, and then there are a few other individual researchers as well, but they're further east, let's say. And so they, I think, will be on the Friday session, which happens earlier in the day. But let me not interrupt further. And Carla, are you done? I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, yes, I'm done. I don't know if I answer your question or I go another way.
This is open. So whatever you will, I'm not asking. I don't mean to ask questions where you have to answer, but I'm just stimulating the conversation. But then we will have another round, hopefully. Well, we still have a little bit of time, 20 more minutes. But Özlem, over to you, and then we'll see where this takes us in the last 20 minutes.
Yes, it's just such a great pleasure. Starting from your opening until now, we just came to end of the first cycle, I would say, with me. And my introduction will be through, without so much focusing on the concept of I, because it is always a shifting thing. What is that I? But the scenario that's unfolding, known as Özlem Bishop. What I've been observing in this scenario is just the vastness of all scenarios, and progressively realizing so. I've started the journey in my early years as a physicist. So I am a quantum physicist who's had the pleasure of being invited to CERN, actually, to work on the experiment that was later on going to show us the Higgs boson, that's known as God particle. I could not go as I was young and a female researcher at the time. So my research career started with like a crying, why can't I go? Well, then, but there is always a reason for everything we're finding, or at least I've been finding. And then I needed to learn many other things. It seems like that's the overarching theme of my scenario of observing, learning, entangling and detangling and just like flowing as like, I think a lot of themes are coming together. I'm just thinking David, Cecilia, and Carla, what they've been saying. And then the question of like, why am I here for? Or what is the purpose of this scenario? And what is the role of maybe choice or not? Sorry, Alexander, this is a little bit like starting with the questions, but the questions have always existed and they only morphed and transitioned and so forth. And then the journeys took me to a different sort of path, that I've become an engineer. Then I've been always playing with, there used to be something called ARPANET that we used to get super excited. It became internet of today. My youth times ARPANET, and here we are now. It's just really affecting the wave functions with those forceful ones, as David earlier mentioned, and just, creating like different types of collective information to be circulating, where we've just sort of lost our ways of connecting with the collective fields, that where we can just infinitely and unboundedly access to all sorts of flows of information and wisdom sipping through. And trying to make sense of it in like our scenarios. So while I've continued that search as an engineer later, and spending quite a bit of time in nodes of types that it taught me a lot, because it afforded me to play with the latest and most possible technology humans have been able to generate so far in terms of technology. So I've spent quite a bit of time in financial technology, and I've focused on risk and risk modeling and neural networks and scenarios unfolding. It's more like, maybe the Irvin's like systems work and complexity related work, but applied to pragmatic questions, such as answering our institutional clients at the time. How can I maximize profits, which is sort of, externalizing risks to Earth. Speaking of, the balances, as Carla was just saying, that word, humans also being of Earth, because your molecules and all the body components are part of Earth. Just somehow just having like a little bit not such equal or harmonious or resonating interaction with it. Then that, of course, as a result, I came here and so forth and studied other things, and I've been always very curious about all sorts of things, except I would say things that are of spiritual nature, despite of my family's background and lots of wisdom, especially my grandparents having visitors from even Japan to ask for spiritual wisdom. And I grew in that environment, but for somehow I've been really conditioned with the scientific philosophy that sort of excluded spiritual component of it, or I should say the metaphysics part of it. So, but then of course I realized that as the scenario is unfolding, wait a second, there are a lot of interesting, unexplainable things occurring. And then there are lots of questions to be asked. And why are we so ferociously just pushing them away? I mean, even Descartes told us like that, question everything. And it's just very strange the way that academia and science, the philosophy of science, is pragmatically working these days, almost like another type of religion that is actually very prohibitive and limiting. And then, so this was actually quite recent, my more opening to different types of knowing. And then one thing led another, then I think it was maybe time, and perhaps I needed to just like still explore and learn other parts until I can open up to, well, I'm going to ask more challenging questions, the questions that I'm not able to answer with typical science and engineering, applied science. And having with all the experiences, including a lot of personal life experiences, and I would say being a mother, perhaps just the most revolutionary for me, to just allowing me to also look at the types of questions that I've been somewhat avoiding in sort of like a hamster wheel, working, and just like, oh, I don't have time for that at the moment. And then I've actually met with one of my teammates, Carlo, who's going to be with you on Friday. And so it was just then Carlo just was really encouraging. We somehow found each other like really unexpectedly. So I think it just was meant to. And then I've tried to contribute in Carlo's project. I've learned so much from him as part of my exploration of all sorts of theosophies, because then the moment that I realized that, hey, I'm just missing a huge part of the, to me, science, and the way that I describe it, it includes everything. There is no difference to me in terms of cosmology or philosophy or physics and chemistry, biology. Those are really artificial categorizations in my view. So, and then as I also just admitted, hey, why am I just like really freeing my spirit and my essence to ask other questions. I found myself just flowing in, I would say more like dancing, asking more and more interesting questions, and interestingly also receiving some answers. So, and I found out that I'm not alone. And now this is like such a wonderful timing, Alexander, and I really don't think we're alone at all. It's just there are different types of labeling or artificial groupings and categorizations, as we also have in our governance system. So I've had a lot of research associated with governance of all types, particularly data. So I'm actually like a really crazy data person. in terms of the engineering and scientific component of it. Because science, we've also decided that we've just had to have the collapsed wave function collected, little information, unlike Akashic records, very, very flawed and biased and sometimes forced and manipulated and so forth. And we just continue to live like that somehow. But I think one of the main questions that I like to ask is, it's associated with cosmos, actually. And it's not, if you note that, like, I'm not even saying universe. So I'm just really wondering, I'm really wondering, how could we integrate what we've been able to consciously get a taste of, and you know, in some way that maybe I could just use like a very commonly known, like a Bohemian way of like from intricate to extricate to intricate. So I realized that, oh wow, things that I've been thinking in my mind or in my essence, that there's already language for some of these things I'm discovering when I started looking at it, because I didn't know in the past. And also I really I love Tesla so much, by the way. I just really appreciated the remarks related with him. He's also asked some very interesting questions. So my question is of integration, and is of in ways how the scenarios are unifying or also recreating and replicating and so forth, how they're just really flowing. And then to the extent that if we can be more aware, and is there any way that we can create a more symphony, like a symphony? Can we just make it more beautiful? Yeah, this is usually sometimes I just say for our types of scenarios as humans, it just seems we're just so cute and violent at the same time, or just it's at least, you know, our current version. But at the same time, our bigger versions that we came to really suppress, that's usually only discussed in like either spiritual or religious settings, is really it. I think it just wants to be freed and flow more beautifully. So I'm wondering, how can we make it more beautiful, and how can we just really, how can we somehow understand that we are of Earth. Every time we've hurt any part, it's hurting self. And it's just really, it's almost like, why would you do that? So looking for balance and like how we can just approach equilibrium a little bit more so, and how we can just have integrate and harmonize things a little bit more so, and how can we do it in such a way that it's not really divisive or not like really creating resistance. So I think I'm just wondering how the transition is going to be smooth, because it's in it, it'll happen. Nature, the cosmos, has really wonderful ways of flowing. The question here is if the human species will be part of it as they recall, or like in some similar format or not. So I think it would be really great to be in sync with Earth and to make it a reality. I feel actually there's a lot of almost tangible change in the air, even like this month and by the end of this year. And then, oh, by the way, while I've been doing these things, I took interest in all sorts of things. So I actually got involved in various assorted research. I mean, for example, there was a research in Stanford in terms of non-symbolic understanding, they called it like the fundamental well-being and so forth, but looking at what they call from location minus locations to all the way to unlimited locations in terms of what a being could be. On one hand, maybe you could just have someone who's really stressed out and depressed, or just having all sorts of health issues that on the maybe like minus scale, just not being able to resolve and be in harmony. On the other hand, you may have like Sufis who have like no boundaries in terms of existence, and who are just more aware of how they could just flow. So those continue, and there actually were some really great research papers. So I'm actually, I was a participant in those research. So I was, people who were in the research that they've been researching. I'm happy to send some information. You may not have those, Alexander. So this is not related with Carlo's research. And then since last year, I've also just started to, during this year, started to look at more biological related in terms of the research, biofields that I found an amazing biomolecular researcher that we've been collaborating, doing actual experiments. Those we're just doing the second round of experiments. The first round of experiments finished. So those are also yielding some very interesting results. We're using a salt room in terms of isolating, like in Earth environment, some of the other waves, just to bring the subjects inside only subject to, say, like Schumann resonances, as opposed to any other polluting, how David was saying, like forces. It's not perfect, but I mean, neutrinos and so forth, they still come in, but it's just a little bit like more measurable, because we're measuring everything during those circumstances related with biofield. And then what else? I'm also learning a lot about ancient technologies, including I finished a long karmic training with a teacher, actually a couple teachers from Russia, as well as Turkey and England, for astrological components, sort of like all the objects, like the math of the other objects, and how it might be creating the scenarios. And that there are really amazing predictive tools, practical tools in terms of understanding scenarios. But again, our parameters are really limited. And finally, I'm also really active in AI research for some time. And so that's actually getting out of control. So some concerns there, but it's part of our evolution, I think. I tried, instead of being scared, I try to just be there and try to be the voice of as much as I can, wisdom and love.
Beautiful. Özlem, thank you so much. I just want to check in with everyone. We have gone for 1 hour, and we were set to meet for 1 hour. So I'm wondering, could I recontract, as they say, with you for another 10 minutes? Would that be all right? So you have 10 more minutes? Is that okay? Yeah? Okay. We do like a little checkout, little round here. And this is, in a way, it feels like coming to an oasis. I don't know how you feel, but it feels like we should have done this earlier. I mean, we should have. I want to mention, by the way, Özlem, I think it's great also that you're talking about your research in this, because particularly your group with the inside-outside learning.
Oh, yeah, that's wonderful. I'm just leaving it to Carlo to
well, no, but the point is that research with the Laszlo Institute is concluded. So that's already, you are coming here as past researchers, still associated with the Laszlo Institute, but not active researchers. But you're coming here with your own research, your own questions, and that's great. We're not looking necessarily for people to say, I represent this project, that's all I can say. You represent yourself. And I think that's very
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry if I just was, yeah, I was just saying what I was saying.
I'm just saying that that's perfect. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we should be doing, I
Okay.
think. So that's great. But I did want to clarify that for people that research project is one of the ones that has been concluded. But still, we have still the research community. So just maybe as we check out, we can say briefly, because we have 10 minutes, just to say, what's coming up now in terms of the red thread. What seems to be connecting us? Why is this? I mean, my sense is an oasis coming to almost there's a thirst for this community to continue to find themselves and each other, is what Carla was saying, and Cecilia saying, it's a lonely road otherwise. So being able to connect, and there seems to me to be such a ready red threads. It's right there almost at the surface. This idea of it's expressed in different ways. It's buen vivir is one way of expressing it completely, but also resonating with the world. And then this inside-outside learning, or the whole, the bioresonance also that Özlem you were talking about. And all of this has to do with how do we, I'm going to express it like this, how do we human well, right? I mean, the cat can cat well, right? And maybe in our past life we were, butterflying well. That's great. But how do we human well now as an expression of the cosmos, right? How do we do so authentically with its true vibrational patterns, which are always building towards coherence, right? This is the Akashic. This is what you were talking about also from the implicate to the explicate, right? And from the 0-point energy field, or however you want to put this. It's always looking at the dynamics. It seems to be that we are in a holotropic universe, one that is engaging in a dynamics that always build towards greater coherence. Now, we have definitely strayed from that path in many of our current, particularly Western approaches, which emphasize strident individualism and self-righteous independence. How do we learn again this dance of interbeing? In physics, quantum physics, they talk about entanglement, but it's not such a nice word. I mean, it's like entanglement is what happens to my beard in the morning, and then I got to take the comb and get it unentangled. So, but Theodore Holmes Nelson came up with this beautiful word in 1974. He talked about intertwinglement, and it has magic to it. So at the social level, we can be intertwingled, not just entangled. How do we create those conditions? And it's about shifting from resonance, as David talks about, to consonance. What's that shift from resonance to consonance? And how is what's the conscious component of that? So I'm done. That was me saying what I'm finding here as the interesting red threads. Maybe we'll go in the same order. And David, if you can just say, what is it that you're taking with you from this? And then if you can, we'll meet on Friday. But I would like to start making this maybe even a monthly thing, and we can have these 2 sessions on a regular basis, but we'll see what people are interested in. But David.
I'm taking in some senses, the similarities. I think I felt what is each of us trying to do, wants to feel harmony, etc., etc. But it was almost the fact that each person expressed it in different ways. I found that really, really interesting. For example, when Özlem said, well, I am a scenario that is unfolding. Well, that's putting different phraseology. It feels like it's the same thing, but it's adding a twist to the thought process or the feeling process. So what I'm taking from here is the delight of the similarity, the connection, the resonance in some way between us. But on the other hand, also the differences, the variations in how we express things and what we emphasize and like that. So that's what I'm feeling as I'm listening to each of us speaking.
I love that. Can you just, I'm taking notes here. What did you say that Özlem said? I'm a scenario in search of?
I am a scenario that is unfolding.
Unfold.
Correct me, Özlem, if I misquoted you.
Oh no, I often say that. Yes, that sounds right. Like about that sounds like me. Yes, I must have
Good.
said that.
Okay, great. I just wanted to jot that down. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And Özlem, we're coming to you at the end. So let's go on now with Ceci.
Okay, well, I'm excited to being part of this community, which is building up now my sense of enthusiasm for this research, and it's like a dream for me, because all these things that were in my mind since I was a child, I now can speak up for that, and maybe unfold this scenario, unfold this curiosity for that. So I'm happy, really happy, and I'm bringing that with me. And I think that for me is this thing of how can we bring the coherence and you said, Alexander, consonance or something like that. So I think is leaving the resistance behind, because I think that this is happening. The cosmos is flowing, and maybe we are sometimes resisting. I'm speaking about me. I'm in sometimes, a lot of times, I resist. So at those times, I don't feel harmony. I guess that like community, like humanity, we can do well if we let resistance behind, because the cosmos is flowing and it's happening. That's not our agency to stop or disturb that. I guess that we should flow. We need to flow with that. We need to let it be. Let us be. That's it.
Beautiful. We are in a cosmic flow. Thank you. Nice. Carla.
Thank you. Yes, I want to take the Ceci's word. I also take some notes, and Özlem said, the Ceci says the same, is the human can choose is being part of the flow or not. No, so the same as Ceci, and so sometimes I also feel this. Personally, I'm trying to do my best to flow with, and I still sense this. Maybe it's also in me. I can feel this resistance from the science, so I feel it. Through this year with this project, I knocked plenty of doors, and it was all closed. So I feel that, and I think this is resistances. So even we want to flow, maybe I'm not taking the best stream, as Alexander said. we try to do this maybe in the mainstream and it's not there, but I can understand well where is this flow that is flowing and it's not shut everywhere. So I'm still seeking or searching this path. For sometimes I feel that we need to do this path. We have to do it, but yeah, sometimes I really don't know how to do it or what I need to do to flow. No, I try to, and I find this shuts down all the time. So I want to be part of this flow, but sometimes I really don't know. It's not the desperate or not being positive. No, I don't want to be negative, please. Just I think the cosmos is flowing and the human is not being part of this.
Thank you, Carla. And there's this sense of isolation, is what we talked about before. And I think, you know, there's this wonderful expression that humanity has reached a bridge that can only be crossed in unity. And in a certain way, this exploration that we're doing really cannot be done alone. I mean, we're talking about the difference between the strident individualism, the self-righteous independence, and that doesn't take us places, and the need for this collective intelligence, the collective empathy. So I think we walk the talk. And I'm kicking myself for not having started these conversations earlier. But it seems to me that this is really an important path forward to meet and join with each other. Although we just have 2 new researchers this month. We got 2 new researchers on, so that's helpful as well to expand this community in terms of the conversations. Okay, let me shut up, pass it on to Özlem.
I'm just going to briefly say that I think the theme is how to integrate beautifully with cosmos. And because our scenarios happen to be like this group, we're here together, we're all human or trying to be humans. I love what you said, Alexander. How do we do human well so we can actually be a more active contributor of the creation of cosmos? Because, you know, we need to, or not, I shouldn't say need, but in ways that will be able to show the way we can create beauty, then, you know, maybe we'll be taking roles in creating new galaxies or universes and so forth. But, you know, we cannot do it by showing our blockages or resistances or fears, like just, you know, hurting each other. That's really not really showing like a harmonious tracking. And I'm just not saying that I believe in all things to be conscious. So it does not need to be a, you know, biological or organic or sentient being and so forth. But how do we really show the kind of responsibility and respect, get the love right, and then duty right, and then just maybe like contribute with the creativity, so our scenarios can just be in more creative roles of this thing, potentially that is just only one thing anyway. So yeah, I'm hoping we can contribute, but I think the time is probably right, and I feel very optimistic. And yeah, this meeting now is just great. We could have like never met.
Yeah,
Go ahead, please, Carla. Yes.
No, yeah, I wanted, David said at the beginning also, we are sharing our energy, and this is the way I think we can open the doors. So this is the way, and showing, and this, as you said, Alexander. So this is, I feel that this is the way also. So now to tell.
Oh, and I would like to add that it's just like a very something we know in physics. It's just not like a mystery or anything like that. And this is actually really goes to the technical description of what you call resonance, David. Once we can find those types of possibilities, it really doesn't take that many humans to change the frequencies. So one human could potentially influence 1 to 10 million others. This is like really, we can just, of course, like, quantify and measure better, but it's possible. And so, and we have finite numbers. We only have 8 billion people at the moment. With not like if we can just count all the animals and so forth, a little bit more, but like we could actually, I really believe that we could do it. I'm very optimistic.
This who knows what's going to come out of these conversations, because this is a conversation for relationship that we're having right here. It's the first level of conversation, right? In kind of Bohmian dialogue. So then this is generative dialogue. Then there's the conversation for learning, which is a more an evolutionary dialogue where we say, so tell me more about your research, and what you were just now talking about, Özlem, for example, sets up potential research paths, which leads to the third kind of conversation for possibility, which is more of strategic dialogue, where we say, oh, well, you know what, we could combine, we could do some things together, etc. And then that leads to a conversation for action, a tactical dialogue. So these are things that we can, if we continue these meetings. I don't want to add, I don't know how you are, but I have meetings and meetings and meetings. Certainly don't want to add to that, but if this is meaningful, then we can explore what can emerge from this. And yes, I think part of the new paradigm framing is that it's not so much about critical mass that everyone is talking about, have to have the critical mass, but as Özlem is saying, it's more about the trim tab. It's finding those small parts that can shift the large system without having to be numerically the mass that does it. It can be doing that. That's exactly the ways that you've mentioned it. So finally, just to and now we've gone 20 minutes over, my apologies, but just to say, I like to think about this idea of learning to dance, learning to dance the dance that the cosmos is doing, right? Because the cosmos is doing this amazing dance, right? And if you speed up the life of the trees, they're all the time dancing, right? But when you look at it, it looks like they're standing still, but that's in our time frame. They have longer time frames, and they're all the time dancing and waving. Animals and plants and so many things dance, like the murmuration of starlings and so on. And humans they're not very good dancers, or they dance by themselves, right? So how do we dance with all of life? And I think the bigger question, though, also is not just how to learn how to dance that dance of the cosmos, of its emergence with grace, with beauty, but how to be danced. And that's a different question. How to be danced by the cosmos. There's an openness, a readiness, a listening. I just earlier today learned a new phrase, never heard this before, and I love it. The idea of keynote speakers, right? So we have these, that's very big from last century. We had the keynote speaker, the important person, keynote listeners. I love the idea of being a keynote listener. How do we come in and listen? So we're practicing that here with each other, and we're seeing what emerges, and that's the way we're tuning in to those authentic vibrational potentials to be danced. So with this, I invite you, please, to come back. If you can come on Friday, it's 4 hours earlier, right? 4 hours earlier than we began today, but come meet the rest of everybody, and we'll interweave, and we'll continue the dialogue. And even if you can't meet on Friday, I'll make sure we keep doing this. We're coming to the end of this calendar year. Here in the Southern Hemisphere, it means long vacation because it's summer vacation. So January, nobody's working here. So we'll see. Yeah, so we'll see, but we will do things. We'll catch things up here. We're just moving into summertime. But good. thank you so much for coming. I will share the recording and hopefully see you on Friday, and if not, then at the next time.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so
Thanks so
Great to
much.
meet you all. If I can make it on Friday, I'd like to send a message to Trust Cosmos and dance fearlessly.
That's right. And be danced. Let yourself be danced.
Allow being danced.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye then.
Bye.
Bye.